Last week, we reported on the decision not to censure congressional candidate Tom Patty. It was the second time the San Joaquin County Supervisor and Republican candidate for Congress faced a vote to be censured by the Board of Supervisors. And while the results of an investigation were made public, the details of what were found were not until now. The San Francisco Chronicle has since obtained that report, and Sophia Bollig with the San Francisco Chronicle joins us now to talk about this investigation. Thank you so much for joining us. What are the details outlined in this report?
Yeah, so basically this report is based on a complaint that was brought forward by Tom Patty's colleague on the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Catherine Miller. And it's based on rumors and statements that she heard from constituents in her district that she felt like rose to the level where she needed to bring them to the county to launch an investigation. The investigation substantiated most of the allegations that she had brought forward, including allegations that he had threatened staffers and members of community organizations, sort of implied that he would put their jobs in jeopardy if they didn't do what he wanted. It did not sustain, though, the sort of most egregious allegation, which was that he had tried to bribe someone, a local community organization member. The report did not find that he had done that. It didn't find evidence that that had happened.
Right. So, we want to talk a little bit more about that serious allegation, that accusation of bribery. Where did that come from, and what did that investigation find in terms of the bribery?
Yeah, so this allegation was brought forward by Supervisor Miller, and it was based on conversations that she'd had with a number of people in the district that she had spoken with, who said they had heard rumors that Patty had promised the board member of a local homeless services organization funding in exchange for support, publicly supporting a plan that Patty was sort of forming to build a regional homeless shelter. The report did not sustain that. The independent investigator that San Joaquin County hired to do this report found that while there were people who had heard this rumor, no one really had any proof, and there was really no evidence that Patty had tried to bribe anyone. And Tom Patty has said very clearly that he never bribed anyone and that he didn't do anything wrong.
Now, there's more to this investigation than just the bribery, though. The investigation did not completely clear Patty, and we know that there's more to this report. What did this report uncover as part of that investigation?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there were other allegations that were sustained in this report. One is that the independent investigator found that he had been unprofessional and rude to another Board of Supervisors supervisor member, that he had shouted at her during meetings and behaved unprofessionally. It also found that he had likely behaved inappropriately toward staffers in terms of implying that he was going to threaten their jobs or berating them, putting an inappropriate level of pressure on them to do certain things. And the report details interviews that the investigator did with several different staffers who described that separately.
So multiple instances of this kind of behavior, I guess, either behind closed doors or within the community. So this report could have an impact on the congressional race. What do we know? How are Tom Patty and Josh Harder responding rather to this tonight, now that this report has been made public?
Yeah, this could potentially be a big deal. I think it remains to be seen exactly what kind of impact it has on this race, but Democrats are fighting, including Josh Harder, the incumbent in this district. They're fighting to maintain a very slim majority that they have in the House of Representatives, and so this race is considered a must-win for Harder if Democrats want to try to keep the House. So the stakes are high here, and Harder has been really using this as a campaign talking point in his campaign. He's running a billboard in Tracy, broadcasting that Tom Patty was under investigation for bribery. Tom Patty has said repeatedly that all of the allegations in this report are unfounded, that he did not do anything wrong, and that this is all just a political attack against him.
All right. Well, lots to unpack here, but thank you for breaking it all down. Again, Sophia Bollig with the San Francisco Chronicle. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.